when we attacked your planet, all your soldiers and all their advanced technology could only put up a measly 9-minute fight before they were exterminated. Which is why man is an endangered species.
Hubbard wrote this book in much the same way, I guess, that George conceived Star Wars, in much the same way that Arthur C. Clarke conceived 2001, and certainly what Frank Herbert did with Dune, and set up a complete world.
George Lucas calls the king of science fiction film, and he says, I have the director for you. Roger Christian, who worked with me on every single Star Wars. He did all my second unit and a lot of my first unit. He said he is the only person in the world that should direct your movie.
John Travolta obviously was attached as the star, but I had to find a director, and we wanted a visionary director.
I'd been looking for different stories to tell. I like science fiction, and this one came out of the blue. I read the script and liked it enormously. Very, very powerful story, which is quite unusual, I think, with these movies.
We have enough problems without killing each other over food. From now on, we eat at the same time.
We've tried to create a very interesting world and a subplots and subtext underneath it. Again, it followed the theme of the hero's journey. The underdog trying to survive, saving the world in effect, but within a very, very interesting premise of primitive and future, and certainly set into a very realistic world. That's the main heart of the story, which is a sci-fi that I like.
The script deals in some ways with how you will deal with those who you consider lesser than you, and how far you will go and when you don't have to care.
Who is responsible for allowing this man-animal to run around unsupervised?
One of the unusual things about the movie is the primitive men are treated by the Cyclones like animals. They're kept in cages, they're kept in the zoo, which is a metaphor. Again, for the underlying theme of the movie, that you put a human being in a cage and they'll stay there. But if one of them starts to figure out, hold on a minute, there's more to than this, then you can take the next step up.
The great villages were built by our people, by millions of men and women just like us, who are willing to fight to the death for one thing above all else, their freedom.
The clothes, as it were, that we've put onto the film are very unusual. There's not a story been like this one. There's never been this type of science fiction film.
Does all of Earth look like this?
Oh, I'm afraid so, sir.
Pathetic.
Everyone underestimated the heat of the project, and suddenly, from out of the woodwork came everyone who was super important, especially to the genre, who wanted to be attached to Battlefield Earth.
As a designer, it's something I've been looking to do for a very long time for a few different reasons. One is I'm always believed that a designer should be able to design costume sets and creatures and makeup.
I was thinking about the vision of the film and how to bring this to fruition. I'd met Patrick Tatopoulos and I liked what he did in Godzilla, I think, and Independence Day. He's unique in that he does production design, costumes and creatures.
Everything has to blend together. On the Cyclo world, there's a lot of elements that you find in a costume that's repeated into the sets, and all that stuff works because you're in a certain state of mind when you start designing and everything sort of flows together. And I think at the end it reads in the movie. Everything seems to blend better.
If you get disparate elements in a sci-fi movie, and that's where I've seen them all fall down, they don't work. You need a cohesive vision. So I knew Patrick could oversee everything.
He's brilliant. I mean, the guy just one of the wackiest designers in the world. I could never come up with cyclos that look like this. Would have taken me another 100 years.
A female getting leverage. Ha!
I am going to make you as happy as a baby cyclo on a straight diet of garbango.
There certainly was an evolution of looks for the character. Patrick designed a very interesting character to begin with. He made a model of it. We all were quite taken by it. But the truth was, when we put it on its feet and we went to screen test it, there were aspects of it that didn't work.
When he started to wear the costume we actually built for the other character in the background, he didn't feel completely like Turl. Something was missing in his mind. And at that point, which was close to the shooting date, we realized that even with all those tests, John was narrowing his character very clearly. And at that point, we had to work things around, basically creating a new costume out of leather from scratch, because that material gave him the richness and what Turl should have.
It was scary because we really thought it was going to be a home run the first try. And that was a 10 or 12 hour day of testing, and that didn't turn out. And then the second day, it didn't turn out. And then the third day, it didn't turn out.
The last 3 days were just crazy days, but like until middle of the night, we would go try the pants on and just make it work.
Finally, on the fourth or fifth day, we got it. But it was through a lot of trial and error, and everybody pitched in. My personal team, Patrick's team, everybody, the director, the cinematographer, everybody had a say-so in this look, because we had to make it right.
The initial drawings that I saw were different because my character, and I think John's character, and a few of the other upper-level cyclos, their face is more revealed than some of the workers. We're in the upper class in our society, and so as a result, a lot of his design too would come around. Was around placing those elements that he had created for the look of the cyclo, but allowing our own features and stuff to come through as well.
It's difficult to act with that kind of heat going on in your body and a degree of suffocation, if you will, claustrophobia. But at the same time, you use that discomfort to aid the more unpleasant moments.
Understand? You understand me? Are you hungry, little fella? Yes?
Obviously, this is going to take a while.
The first moment when I got the movie, I said, put me in a room with the designer and a special effects supervisor, and let us battle out how to do this within the parameters of what we have. Out of a lot of people, I chose Eric Henry, who is a very young effects supervisor. He's got this ability, so I knew I could throw him into Montreal, and he would make it work.
As you are listening to me, I most likely do not exist, as we may have been exterminated, like many other races, by the gas drones of our conquerors.
The thing that brings me to work every day is the creativity that I get to use, and I have to thank Roger and Patrick for that, mostly, because they've been able to be confident enough in me to say, when it comes to those shots, you go and do them. We have the utmost confidence that you're going to give us something that's interesting. So originality is very important to me, and with it comes the responsibility of making it believable.
I've always felt that you have to be real. That was, I think, this goes back to the Star Wars days, the first Star Wars, when probably the first science fiction film to create a real world.
This is supposed to be believable. It's not, it takes place in the future, but it's not like a fantasy. It definitely is something that we're saying could happen. We're trying to give you a sense of the ships could fly, teleportation could happen. Teleportation is what ultimately saves the humans by teleporting something to planet Cyclone. And that, for Roger and I, had to be a very, very unique and special sort of deal. Now, we also looked to the book to help us with how would things be done, what were the shapes of the objects. Patrick Totopoulos, the designer, certainly got involved with, what should the shapes look like that create these odd three-dimensional effects. So all of that, those are the kind of things that I think that make it so much more exciting to be the supervisor and to be able to bring to an audience something where it's the wow, I've never seen it factor.
We had to build a cyclo ship, and we wanted to find a ship that looked like it was made for work, but flew somehow on something. You're thinking, how does this work?
The one you're seeing, because you're going to see a bunch of them, are almost like jet fighter, like alien jet fighter. They're kind of smaller. They're still like 50 feet long craft. They've been built full size, so it's massive.
Crash one more time, rat brain, and your little friend will no longer be among the living. Again. Again!
Well, basically, we had two models to build. There was this one, which was purely a posable model that was used for distant shots, and we had to make one twice the size of this, approximately 5 feet long, that was motion controlled, which is using computer controlled motors to make all the moves. Patrick designed the original ship and gave us an artistic rendition of it. The rest of the art department produced technical drawings on the computer, which we then used to build the two models. Now, in the case of this particular one, it has all the working features that the motion control model has, although it's not actually motorized, but it is posable.
Yeah, this is as far as I can go! Land it!
I was in charge of constructing and designing all the buildings that we see in the film, and also the technical aspect of how to build it. So, and actually the hardest part in this particular film was to make crumbling buildings look real. These are mainly built from 6 originals, which are just plates that are generic looking plates. And then from that plate we make molds, and from castings of each of that molds we reassemble these plates to look like different buildings. They're all made to be interchangeable and mixable easily.
I think when the audience go to see Battlefield Earth, they will be surprised by the concentration of the look of the film, its coloration, its texture. It is a really, really different looking film. It's different because of the necessities of the script, the necessities of production, the fact we're working in Montreal, the people that we are. But there's something that's come out that's very, very special. My own sensibility comes from a different culture. And I think that sensibility is a slightly rougher edged sensibility. One of the things that we came up with was, which I know a lot of people will find disturbing at first, is that everything is Dutch angle. There is not a level frame in the film. And interestingly enough, when we've had certain things that have come up and we've been shooting multiple cameras and one camera has ended up with a level frame, we haven't been able to cut it in. We've had to put it in the bin.
How do I even know that you understand the plan?
We train man animals who don't need breath gas to mine the gold for us. It's no perfect crime, sir.
The look of Battlefield Earth is rather controlled by this script. We have a story to tell that happens in 2 distinct environments, with people breathing different forms of gases. The cyclos breathe breath gas and the humans air, and we have to try and make the difference very, very clear to the audience because the whole plot relies on that. We came up with a system of coloration and a system of film texture to indicate to the audience exactly where we are all the time, because it cuts so quickly. It'll cut for a second to one place, a couple of seconds to another, and we need to know exactly where we are all the time.
As long as you cling to the feeble hope that you could ever get the better of me, you'll be distracted from the more important things that have to be done, which is exactly why I share the following with you. Everything you humans knew is here. And you can look at anything you want, because there's nothing that will help you.
For sci-fi movies, very much based in a reality base, and it's more about the suppression and more about the oppression of human beings and oppression of any other being than it is about anything else.
We're doing a film that is all the trappings of a science fiction picture that people will love, but it's really at the bottom about the human spirit.
Every department, tops in their field, came together and was willing to make a movie that no one's ever seen before. And I don't know, I just personally have never experienced that before. I'm so proud of that.
Satisfied?
Like a lot of other Hollywood actors, Cagney and Humphrey Bogart, as they got older, they became famous for being villains. Terrell is the definitive evil character. He's pompous, he's rude, he's mean-spirited. There certainly was an evolution of looks for the character.
With John Travolta, John has seen the original concept a long time ago and completely loved it. When his character came in, it became a different issue.
He'll grow into him.
Patrick designed a very interesting character to begin with. We all were quite taken by it. But the truth was, when we put it on its feet and we went to screen test it, there were aspects of it that didn't work, and we had to modify it.
And at that point, which was close to the shooting date, we realized John was narrowing his character very clearly, and at that point we had to work things around.
Finally, on the 4th or 5th day, we got it. It's difficult to act with that kind of heat going on in your body and a degree of suffocation, if you will, claustrophobia. But at the same time, you use that discomfort to aid the more unpleasant moments. And then when I saw it on the screen, I thought, well, whatever's happening, it's working. You know, whatever discomfort I'm in, it seems to be adding some edge. Lucas calls the king of science fiction film, and he says, I have the director for you. Roger Christian, who worked with me on every single Star Wars, is the only person in the world that should direct your movie.
It's one of the best science fiction novels I've read. So the vision of the film comes from the book.
And then we get the top model builder that did all the Star Wars models, all the films, wanting to work again with Roger and wanting to be on Battlefield Earth.
We had to build a Cyclo ship, but everything is real.
Basically, we had two models to build. There was this one, which was purely a posable model that was used for distant shots, and we had to make one twice the size of this, approximately 5 feet long, that was motion controlled, which is using computer-controlled motors to make all the moves. The art department produced technical drawings on the computer, which we then used to build the two models. Now, in the case of this particular one, it has all the working features that the motion control model has, although it's not actually motorized, but it is posable to match any of the positions that the bigger model might be in for any given scene.
I'll be damned.
I am the visual effects supervisor, and as such, I'm in charge of working with Roger Christian, the director, to discover whether or not we do a matte painting or we have a miniature and a matte painting together, whether or not something's computer generated completely, and to be able to bring to an audience something where it's the wow, I've never seen it factor.
We elevated it in a lot of ways with more sophisticated techniques, and you get fantastic results. It's always proven. And then we're adding in CGI onto that to make it really magical.
Every department, tops in their field, came together and was willing to make a movie that no one's ever seen before.
Là, s'il vous plaît. Ok, fin de répétition, merci.
Y tus trailers, visita mi canal.
Pretend that you're not a complete imbecile and check the Campo gradients.
The mountain's full of uranium. No cyclone can get there without its breath gas exploding. There's no way to mine the golds.
But what I do mind is being betrayed by a lousy recon photo.
Was worthless, you said so yourself.
But you didn't know it was worthless.
I would never hurt you, sir. I'm unarmed. You can't shoot me. It's against regulations, sir. I can make this up to you. I swear. You do not have to shoot me.
Shoot you? My most trusted colleague? Of course not.
Background and action. Pray.
Y tus trailers, visita mi canal. tráilers. Visita mi canal.